When I was younger, I tried to memorize all of the world capitals, but I would always confuse Budapest and Bucharest. But now I know that Budapest is the capital of Hungary. And Luz in the Yakuza lives in the capital of Belgium, Brussels, and the capital of Armenia is Yerevan. So shout out. And shout out Jennifer.
Oh, man.
And with that, let's get started. Brandon, and with me, as always, is the co-host.
David. I like the amount of co's. I also want to say I can't even be mad at you for that opening because that was just too good. I give it 2.
Thank you.
You have won the Golden David Medal of mentioning things.
The Golden David Medal. This is incredible. It ties into a movie that just came out over Christmas, David, the movie. Or, as they sometimes refer to it, the David movie.
El David movie. The amount of times that I've seen people like text a group chat or me with the words David movie has like risen so much this past month, pretty much December. And every single time I'm like, wait, did I make something? And then I'm like, wait, no, it's an actual movie. It's not something in my imagination. So yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a Jesus movie, and not only has that risen, he is risen over the past few months or whatever. That's Easter, actually. That's not even like relatable, but whatever. I don't know anything about religion other than we got the David movie, and then in a few months we got Michael. So shout out to your brother, because we have both the brothers covered here with movies. This is going to be exciting.
Both represented. And both are going to make $1 bajillion. So, nice.
I hope so.
Probably.
The David movie cost like $60 million to make, which is insane to me.
That's genuinely crazy. I get like the Michael Jackson biopic costing a lot, but I do not understand the David movie costing a lot.
No. So everybody go support David in your local theaters, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. It ultimately doesn't affect us, though.
And then go support Michael.
Yeah, and go support Michael later. And we'll see. We'll let the world speak which one they prefer. I have a feeling it's going to be Michael. But honestly, who knows?
Probably.
I also think that movie's going to be a flop. So, I don't know. That's just my own.
People like Michael Jackson so much that they will like go and support and make it a big hit. Like, it's going to be Bohemian Rhapsody all over again.
Yes, you have been saying
That's my prediction of the week. Is that it's going to be a big hit because he's so popular still. Like, his music is so popular. He's obviously controversial, but regardless, his music is so big, especially worldwide. Like, it's big everywhere. So it's going to be a big hit.
That's true.
I don't know if it's going to break $1 billion, but I think it's going to like make more than 500 million for sure.
I want this for you, but at the same time, David and I are doing a box office draft with some of our friends, and we're competing against each other. David selected Michael to be his big hit of the year, so I also would like it to fail so I can win.
And I will say, I did that because I was out of choices. I was the last one to go. It was not my first option. I would have picked the Mario movie.
Hey, all I'm going to say is Toy Story 5 was right there. But yeah, I got the Mario movie, so
God damn it.
Go me, I guess. But that's beside the point. The point is, we are here today to discuss a movie and an album, both of which are very important to the fabric of Europe. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to talk about I believe this is our first entirely foreign language album.
I would think so.
And this is my first ever Wes Anderson movie. So I'm also excited to talk about that because I had no idea what Wes Anderson's whole deal was, but also right when I started watching this movie, I was like, this is exactly what I thought his deal would be. So,
yeah,
but we'll get to that later because first I have to ask David the eternal question. What have you watched in the past week?
There have been a couple of things that I've watched in the past week. Ironically, one of them is a horror movie and the other one is a Christmas movie. So kind of representing October and December at the same time. The first movie I watched that I'll talk about is called The Hunger. It's a horror movie. with vampires, and they're all super sexy vampires because it's David Bowie, Catherine Deneuve, who was a French actress, and then Susan Sarandon becomes a vampire, spoiler alert, later in the movie. So you got 3 super sexy vampires in the movie, and it was honestly a letdown. Because you got me with that pitch, but then they didn't deliver. Literally, the movie starts with like David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve like dressed in leather in like, 80s, whatever, New York, like getting ready to find, like searching for someone to eat. And I was so there. And then the rest of the movie was nothing like that. Like the movie just did not follow that, which is what I wanted from it. I was like, just give me a bunch of sexy people being vampires and eating people. That's all I wanted. And it did not deliver. And David Bowie died in the first like act. So yeah, it was a disappointment. It's a 3. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what I wanted pretty much. The second movie that I watched was a Christmas movie that I'd never seen before. And you might find this to be crazy, but it was Home Alone. It was my first time watching it. And I liked it. It's really good. It's 4. That's all I kind of have to say. Like everyone else has talked about how good it is. And with that, that leads me to the question of what have you been listening to, Brandon, over the past week?
Well, we're going to throw it all the way back to the second year I was alive.
Ooh.
This album came out in 2002. I've never listened to it. It's called Details by Frou Frou, which is Imogen Heap and this other guy whose name is ironically Guy Sigsworth. And it's their only album as a band. And I got to say, this is something I've wanted to listen to for a while, and I finally got around to it because there's nothing else coming out. And is very good. It's called Details. So big fan. If you like pop music that sounds like it is 20 some years ahead of its time, because it is, I would recommend this album. Very exciting, very forward thinking, and does not get enough love. And I don't think Imogen Heap gets enough love in general as an artist, because she was kind of like a pioneer in a lot of the modern sounds that we have in pop music. So shout out to her. Shout out to Frou Frou. And shout out to the fact that I have no song to offer this week, because the past 2 weeks of New Music Friday, I have gotten 5 songs that I have enjoyed both. So not very good, unfortunately. But now it's time for the real meat and potatoes of this episode. We are talking
shall we say croissants and cappuccino? I don't know. That's Italian.
I was thinking escargot, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you one thing real quick. This isn't even France we're talking about. This is another country that speaks French. But first, I have to tell you, this is Gore by Luce and the Yakuza. It was released October 16th, 2020 by Columbia Records and Sony Music France. And Luce and the Yakuza is one person. Her name is Marie-Pierre Kakoma. I don't know if that's how you say it. I'm going to do my best of like busting out my French accent that I haven't used in like 6 years at this point. Cause it's like, why not?
You can do it.
I can kind of do it a little bit. I can get away with it. I don't think we have any French listeners. So
Je m'appelle David.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
So I'd like to give you a little bit of a geography quiz right now. So
oh God.
Luce, as I will call her for most of the episode, was born in Zaire. It doesn't exist anymore. What is this country now?
Doesn't exist, huh?
Correct. It does not exist.
I feel like a lot of countries that don't exist anymore are because they got like swallowed or reestablished, which makes me think that it was either in like a war-torn area like the Middle East, or maybe places where like colonialism happened.
Well, I'm going to give you a hint right now.
Yes, please.
She, at age 15, moved to Brussels, Belgium, after she was disowned by her parents. And if you know anything about Belgium's colonial empire, it is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And that's what the country is today now.
The moment you said it, I was like, oh, it's Congo.
Yes, so South Central Africa is where she's originally from. But at 15, she moved to Belgium. And both of her parents were prominent doctors, and they said, you are going to be a doctor as well. And she said, I am a musician. And you know what? She is. And she's a good one.
She is.
That's your little bit of backstory. I also want to say I don't have many notes on this album because it's not super popular outside of French-speaking parts of the world, and I don't know enough French to like watch 30-minute long interviews and translate them because I mean we're already stretching it my translation skills very thin on this episode, which you will find out later. So anyway, she's very cool. If you speak French, highly recommend watching interviews with her. She has a few that are in English, and she seems like a very cool person. And she's like pretty close to our age. I think she's only like 3 or 4 years older than us, which is also crazy. So, you know, way more successful than we are. She was 24 when this album came out. So yeah, just kind of puts that into perspective.
Way more successful than we will ever be. I also did want to say that one day I'm going to force you to watch a French movie without subtitles, and I fully expect you to understand what's going on.
You know, I don't think I can because, as I just said before we started recording, I am much better at reading French than I am listening to it. Like when I was reading these lyrics, I was like, oh, I actually kind of know what's going on. Hearing it, no idea, no clue.
Nope.
The first French artist I ever really liked is Aya Nakamura. She's very good, and she is almost impossible to understand. Even to some French speakers have said she's impossible to understand because her accent is just like crazy. And that's my problem is accents in general, because even like some American accents, like Southern accents, I can like not understand what's happening sometimes because it just sounds so foreign to me. So
yeah, they get so like accenty, for lack of a better way of saying that, that it's just hard to describe. It's like when you hear someone with a really thick Irish accent talking, you're like, oh yeah, that's not even English.
Welsh.
So yeah,
don't get me started.
Welsh. Oh my God. Yeah.
Anyway, this album was supported by 5 singles. The lead single, Dilemme, in September 2019. I discovered her from the second single, Tout est Gore, which came out in December 2019, and 3 further singles followed in 2020, Solo in March, Bon Acteur in June, and Amigo in September. This album was mixed by Alex Toomey and mastered by Chab. So shout out to that. It said Chab Mastering, like this dude's last name was Mastering, and I was like, no way. And it isn't, it's just Chab. So I assume he is French or Belgian, so shout out. I think your favorite song on this album will be Solo. And I think you're going to rate this album overall a 3. And I think you're going to say, this is kind of cool, but I don't really like it that much. And there's many reasons for that, but we'll get into that, starting with the first track, Dilemme. Written by Lucen the Yakuza, Pablo Diaz-Reixa, which I apologize. He is Spanish, and he's known as El Guincho, is how I've heard people say it. I would say Guincho, Guincho. So I don't really know. As far as I could tell, I have never seen him say his name, his like stage name before. And it's also written by Ponko, and it's produced by Ponko and El Guincho. Now, Dilemme literally translates to dilemma. What a surprise. And I have notes for most of these songs. Some of them are in English, some of them are in French that I translated. So we'll see how much sense they make, but you can kind of get an idea of what she said the song is about. And most of them are from Spotify's storylines, which I kind of remember existing, but also don't. And maybe they existed more in Europe for like, and they were more prominent there. But according to that feature, which I can no longer find, she said that this song is an introduction to all the different people that live in her head and the dilemma in choosing which one to be every day. The lyrics talk about her struggle with the darker people, to use her word, that are in her head. It's almost a cry for help, that she wants to be able to feel like herself at all times, no matter which version of herself she's presenting to the world. Like I said before, I don't have a ton to say about this album. It is mostly in French. Actually, it's like 99% in French. You get Amigo, which is Spanish, and then she says a few words here and there in English. I think this song sounds dark and haunting, and I like this one, but I don't think of it as much as a standout as some of the others. And honestly, this might be my least favorite song. It's good, but it's not great, and I feel like a lot of the songs on the album reach like a higher high than this one. This was originally the only song I had rated lower than any other one, but now I bumped it up to a 3. So this is good. I like it. I listen to it, but it's not great like some of the other songs on here. What did you think about this? And Was it what you were expecting?
Honestly, I was not sure what to expect based off the title, Gore, Barus and the Yakuza, because I was like, oh, Yakuza, Gore, what's going on here? But it's definitely like not one of the many things I expected. It's a very interesting mix of like hip hop and pop. When I was listening to this song specifically, what popped into my head was being in a bar and wanting to leave, which is maybe not the best sign of things to come. It's not a bad song. I think it's just not for me. It's a 2.5. We are kind of starting off negative.
That's fair. Does it get better from here?
It does in some ways.
Oh, okay. Well, I would like to say we got trap drums, which I know you don't like, and we have incomprehensible lyrics because of language barrier. So I don't know how that affects you because this is our first foreign language album. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see as it goes on.
We'll see.
Because most of these songs, I just kind of wrote down the vibe that I got from them because I didn't really look up the lyrics, the English lyrics, I guess, to a lot of them until I was like doing research for this album. I just mostly would listen to this when it's almost like kind of chill to me, even though a lot of the songs are pretty dark in both like sound and subject matter, which we will get to. But yeah, I feel like it's more, I don't know, it's not relaxing, but it's kind of like nice writing music in a way. And I will say as well, I kind of forgot to mention that this genre is a mix of contemporary R&B and rap. And it also is tagged as, of course, French rap and French R&B because it is in the language French. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but yeah. And French is one of the two languages that's commonly spoken in Belgium, along with Dutch. So shout out the Netherlands, I guess. But yeah, so this is a very interesting vibe that's very different from other things we've done. It fits into some of the more contemporary R&B we've done, but even then, it's got its own style, both musically and because of it being from a different country.
Yeah, maybe the fact that it is R&B makes my score make sense, considering how I felt about the SZA album, which they are, as you said, very different. Well, not very, but it is still like a different style of R&B, I feel like. But still, I feel like that does kind of make sense with my past views, my past sins.
I think that, I mean, I obviously like this better, and you'll see my scores pretty shortly. But yeah, there's just a little bit more for me to latch onto. And as I was listening to this, I was kind of like, wow, there is actually quite a bit of piano on this album. I could see you saying, wow, I know why you like this. As I was listening to it, I was thinking of what you would say. So, you know.
That's a good point. I honestly didn't think about it, but that is a good point.
You were too focused on trying to figure out what she was saying. I get it. I was too.
Probably, yeah. I will also say I do believe that we have Belgian listeners. That is probably a person that like listened once and then was like, ish, which I don't think this episode would win them over. But well, yeah.
I mean, they might be won over because of my amazing scores. And I must say, this is an album I discovered all on my own as well. So I would like to say that, you know, she's an artist that has not really crossed over that much into the US, as evidenced by the like lack of English writing about this album. So, you know, this is an opportunity for me to kind of say, you know what, I listen to weird stuff too from other countries. And I also wanted specifically to choose a foreign language album for you in our first season of the podcast, and one that wasn't Spanish, because I wanted it to be certain that it was something that you had never heard of. And I assume, I mean, I didn't even ask you if you had heard of her because I kind of know you haven't. I doubt that any of our listeners have heard of her as well.
Yeah, no, there have been other artists that I haven't heard of, but I'm certain that I haven't heard of it, and most of our listeners have also not heard of this artist, because it is like it's a thing for sure where an artist who's big in another country is just not well known in the US, because the US just has so much going on that it takes a lot to cross back over, you know, the other way.
Track number 2, Bon Acteur, written by David Mems, El Guincho, Luce and the Yakuza, and Matthew Irons. and produced by El Guincho. I'm going to just say it differently every time because I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry.
I also want to say it's hilarious, to hear these lists of names that are like David Mem, Louis in the Yakuza, and then just David Irons or whatever that guy's name was.
Matthew
Something Irons. Yeah, Matthew Irons.
I don't know where David Mems is from. I assume he's from France or Belgium, and his name is supposed to be French, but I don't know, so I'm not going to put a little French spin on it. But this song translates to good actor. And this is from the Spotify storyline, translated from French, so, hopefully it makes sense. This is the story of a woman who would give anything for the man she loves. Despite her boyfriend's dishonesty and the inevitable end of their relationship, Luz sings "Tell Me I'm Worthy of You" because she's seeking reassurance about her own worth. It's a love story between two egos. This song has one of my favorite choruses on the album, and it has great production all around, which is a theme of this album. I absolutely love the production, and most of it is done by El Guincho. I feel like this song fits the color palette of the visuals of this album the most. And it also feels very full compared to Dilem. It, like, from a production standpoint, every aspect of it is just covered. It's very well mixed as well, is another thing I'd like to say. But I like this one a lot. This one's a 3.5.
This song was interesting because in a lot of ways, I feel like it is better than the first song. I think there's more going on, but I still pretty much had the same reaction. It's still a 2.5, but it does work better for me. I guess it just didn't move the needle enough to get, above that 2.5 to the 3. Not to run ahead of ourselves, though, we are going to see a change with the next song. So,
well, I was going to ask, do you ever go above a 3? But now I'm going to ask, I was going to ask, do you ever go above a 2.5? But now I'm going to ask, do you ever go above a 3?
Yes.
Ooh, okay, good. So there is at least a song that you kind of like solo, but we'll get there.
Yes.
Track number 3, Telephone Sun, written by El Guincho, Luz in the Yakuza. I'm going to say that wrong too, because it should be Yakuza, but she says it as Yakuza, which is like the Americanized pronunciation of it. So, I will probably screw that up as well. And I'm going to screw this guy's name up too, Yuri Boterman. And it's produced by El Guincho. This translates to phone rings or phone ringing. And in the Spotify storyline, she explained, "I never answer the phone because I don't want to pretend that everything is fine when everything goes bad. I wrote this song at a time when I wasn't giving enough news to my family and friends because I was writing this album and I needed calm and silence." Now for my note. The whole album has a lot of darkness in the songs, but this one, production-wise, feels like it's not as dark. However, the lyrics are some of the darkest on the album. She's very self-destructive, but it's set against that lighter backdrop of the production, which gives it a nice feeling. Despite not knowing what she's saying until I translated the lyrics, I feel like she even sings the words with a little bit of light, which kind of gives it this, it's different. It's a two sides to the story. I rated this song a 3. I don't like it as much as as the second one, but I do like it still.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like it's a trend where songs that have really dark lyrics don't feel dark in terms of their production, and vice versa.
I would like to say something about that specifically, because there are a lot of songs that have dark lyrics and then they have dark production, but most of the time they feel overindulgent. And I think that this kind of thing works better. And that's, of course, the music that I'm going to pick for this podcast specifically, because I'm going to say, you know what? I really like when you get that juxtaposition of light and dark.
That's
together.
also true. That is a good point that I did not consider, to be honest. But I agree with that it makes it more interesting when it is like that. And I got to say, for this song specifically, this style of production works much better for me. This is the style of production that gets me. To the point that this is actually my favorite song on the whole album. This is a 3.5.
Nice.
I like this. I want to go back and re-listen to it. I will say, not to spoil it, but you did get close with your prediction for what my favorite song will be. So
sick.
We'll talk about it when we get there. But yeah, this is a 3.5. I, in some ways, wish that the whole album was more like the production of this song. That being said, I also kind of don't wish that, because I feel like that's the spirit of the album, and I might not have liked this song as much if the whole album was like it. So yeah, but yeah, this is definitely my favorite song, hands down.
Hell yeah. This is, I would be lying if I said I predicted this, because I did not. I thought about almost every song on here, and I went through this one. I was like, I could see it maybe. But then I decided on Solo for one particular reason, because there's not a lot of trap drums in it, and it's also super catchy. And I thought, you're going to like this from like a pop music standpoint. But we'll get there later, because I also have another song on this album that is my favorite that I think is super catchy and very pop forward. But before that,
that's exciting.
We have to talk about track number 4, Don Lahes, written by Balogi, El Guincho, Loose in the Yakuza. I said it wrong. Well, kind of wrong. Mems and Ponko, and produced by Mems, Pongo, and El Guincho.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are there both Mems and David Mems working on this album?
No, he is David Mems, but he also goes by Mems. I just decided to say his full name at first because it's David, specifically for that reason. And I was like, you know what? We got to say when
add
there's
another David to the mix.
When there's a David or when there's a Brandon, I have to say their full name, even if they don't go by it at least once, you know. But I will call him Mems from now on.
That's why there are like 10 Davids in every episode, and then like 2 Brandons like once every 10 years, pretty much.
Essentially, yeah. There's not a lot. Most of them are doing crime professionally. Anyway.
Hey, I support.
Yeah, maybe that's what I should do. Anyway, this song translates to in distress or in the struggle or poverty, something along those lines. And it also has translated sometimes to the hood. And she talks about how this song is essentially just her trying to get out of that cycle. I think this song feels the most like an American rap song, both in production and in subject matter. And I think it's really catchy and very good. This is a 3.5 for me.
Yeah, this song was interesting because I feel like, at least to me, it was a mix of the first 2 songs and Telephone Sonné. Like I felt like it mixed the 2 styles of those songs. And that definitely made me like it more than the opening 2 songs, even if it's not as strong as Telephone Sonné.
Telephone Son.
Same thing. I gotta spice it up a little. It's French.
I gotta add extra accents. I mean,
Anyways,
most likely,
it's a 3.
Most likely the French are gonna come after us because we're butchering their language, and you know how French feel about their language.
Belgians are more chill. They're like,
That's true, because half of them speak Dutch.
So. Exactly. Half of them are like, oh, hell yeah, I love this. And then the other half are like,
0.3% speak German for some reason too. So shout out.
Yeah, it's like Italy, not Italy. It's like Switzerland, where it's mostly French and German, then just a few Italian speaking people.
And you can't forget about my favorite language ever, Romansh.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone forgets about it. Yeah. Hashtag never forget Romansh. Track number 5, Tout Gore. Written by El Guincho and Loosen the Yakuza. Oh my God. I'm thinking way too hard about this. Produced by El Guincho. Literally, this song means everything is gore or everything is gory. And she said about this song, this track talks about my destiny. Climbing up the ladder takes time. Despite difficulties, I won't give up. And I don't care that people talk negative about me because what you say is not very important. Everything is gore and ends up gore. My life has been so brutal and awful, and I know it will end like that too. Death. The rock star energy transcends through El Guincho's production. This energy would best define my life. I am also talking about twerk. The move is often described as inelegant, even vulgar, but it's a traditional dance called mutuashi at home, Congo. My apologies if I mispronounced that, but I think that's kind of interesting. There's way more to this song, like reading what she has to say about it, than I ever could have gotten from the lyrics, because first of all, I'm translating them from French, and second of all, I don't speak French very well, or at all, maybe. At this point, I really don't know. But yeah, so there's like a lot of words and phrases that I don't have context for as well, which are very interesting to hear about. Anyway, I only have a few things to say about this song outside of that. It sounds very cool. And she keeps saying everything is gore or everything is gory. And she talked about the music video for this song being about showing people that blood isn't scary, which I think is kind of cool. And that's kind of like what she said overall about the song. But then she wanted to get like actually kind of gory with the music video, which I think is really cool. The song is a 3. I like it.
Definitely a fun title. That's the toot is one of the few words I remember from French. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I know what that means. I feel like this is kind of in some ways not going back, but similar in style to the first 2 opening songs. Again, I feel like it's kind of mixing hip hop, with R&B, which I guess R&B already has like elements of hip hop in it. So
yeah, there's people who will argue that R&B isn't even a real genre. I think I've brought this up before too, because it was originally just a category for pop music made by Black people. So we get some weird lines there about like what is music in general.
I do feel like there are some differences having listened to the SZA album.
For sure.
But that could also just, but that could also be like it started out one way and then it just evolved into something else. But ultimately, with this song, it kind of just gave me the same effect that the first 2 songs did, where it just isn't really for me. It kind of just doesn't hit. It's not a terrible song again, but it is a 2.5. It doesn't really work for me. I come out of it just with nothing, which is sad because I do want to like this artist.
Well, you still can, because you like at least one song by her. I know that. And probably 2 because you hinted at liking Solo. So, but we'll get there, as I keep saying. Moving on to track number 6, Amigo, written by El Guincho, Loosen the Yakuza, and Mems. Produced by El Guincho. This is from the Spotify storyline. Fighting disease, I'm talking to myself despite the world collapsing around me. I'm calling myself for help because there's an emergency. This song is an ode to healing too, to life. It's all about resilience. I'm told it's fine. The pain is so intense that it's making me euphoric. I'm trying to divert my pain and turn it into strength. And now what I have to say. Absolute banger. This song is the reason I chose the album, because it's one of those never skip kind of songs for me. This is my favorite on the album. It has a very simple chorus that's easy to sing, even if you don't know French. Amigo, amigo. I mean, it can't get much simpler than that. And if you ask me how we introduce English speakers to music in other languages, it's through songs like this that are catchy and easy to digest. You might not know what's happening all the time, but you know enough to be able to sing along to the chorus. And that's what I think is important. This song is a 4. This is my favorite on here. And like I said, this is the reason I chose the album, because I listened to this song quite a bit.
This song for me kind of just continued in the same vein as the last song. Pretty much, it didn't fully hit me. I do think that the chorus does definitely work better for me here. Kind of the way that you mentioned, it is just very easy to get into as a chorus. And you really can't just sing along to it, even if you don't speak French or Spanish. It works. So I feel like that maybe saved it a little bit for me, even though ultimately it does kind of just stay at the same place as the previous song. It's still a 2.5, but it's closer to a 3.
One thing I did want to point out is when we talk about things that you like, you often say, oh, 2.5 isn't a good score. And then when we talk about albums or movies that are rated 2.5, you're like, oh, I didn't hate it that much. So I want to get a glimpse into your mind here. Is it 2.5 a bad score?
It is bad, but it's not. The thing is, there are different ways of bad, like the different levels of bad. There is bad where I'm just like, I don't really like it that much, but I don't like hate it. I don't want to, it's not like that. I'm not interested in it. I don't want to like re-listen to it, but at the same time, it's not terrible. It's just not for me, like in any way. That's different from a 3, because with a 3, I'm like, oh, like parts of it work. It's a 3, it has average issues, but parts of it do still work. A 3 is kind of like my average. So a 2 is kind of like, it's not enjoyable to me anymore, but it's not bad at the same time. It's kind of like
2.5,
that.
2.5, you mean?
Yes, a 2.5, sorry.
Okay.
It also is kind of just like whatever is my head at the moment. So it kind of is cheating. But
I mean,
you know,
it's fair. I get it. You know,
yeah.
in a way. Loose in the Yakuza also just confirmed a few days ago that she's going to be releasing her next album soon. So that to me means next year. Maybe it'll take longer, but I at least think she will be starting the campaign for the next album relatively soon. So that's exciting too. She released another album in 2022, I believe, and I didn't like that one as much as this, but I am very excited to see what she's going to do. And I always I have a few artists from other countries that I care about, and she's one of the ones, like one of the French language artists that I'm always interested in. So
I'm intrigued to see what she does next.
For sure. She was also acting a little bit, and she also dances. She has a bunch of videos for songs in this album that are very cool, very visually well done, and then she also is a great dancer. So very cool. Just an overall creative, all around creative. But on that note, track number 7, Mess Bus, written by El Guincho, goddamn, and Loose in the Yakuza, produced by El Guincho. Yeah, whatever. This song translates to whispers or whispering. This is the story. Oh, sorry. This is what she said. This is the story of my oldest friend and I, a story that started out well and then for some reason went wrong. Betrayal is something I can't stand. That hurts me the most. I think that's a great quote as well. And I said, I can feel the hate across languages, and I think it's really cool. It's almost like a playful fuck you to an old friend who betrayed you. It reminds me of horror because the melodies are almost childlike, but they're also haunting at the same time. I gave this one a 3. I don't connect with it as much as some of the other ones, but I do think it's quite fun, and it's, I think, pretty unique among the album. It's got its own kind of vibe going on.
The production definitely works more for me, and it feels a lot more engaging than the previous songs. Maybe in part because of the hate, it just captivates you.
Hell yeah, we love
more.
hate. Well,
we love hate so much, kind of. But the song definitely worked better for me. I think in part that is also just the melody. That I don't know if it flowed better or it just caught my attention more. But all of that together did push us up to 3. So this is kind of like the baseline of my enjoyment. I guess you could say a 3.
Nice.
So I did enjoy it. I'm trying to I'm thinking about that 2.5 score now. Okay. So that's pressing into my mind, and I'm trying to think of okay, where are my other scores?
Nice. I'm forcing you to start defending yourself, I guess.
Literally.
Track number 8, Courant d'air, written by El Guincho, Loose in the Yakuza, Mems, and Punko, produced by El Guincho. This translates to draft, as in a draft of air. Now, trigger warning here for this song and the next song. If you don't like triggering topics, I don't even want to say, I feel like trigger warnings are so crazy too, because it's trigger warning, here's the topic I'm going to talk about. And you would already be thinking about that. To me, that's already triggering. If you're telling me what you're going to talk about and it's a triggering subject. Anyway, that's an aside. Anyway, this is just a general trigger warning. If you don't like, darker subjects and violence, I guess, skip this in the next song and just go on to track 10. So this song is about prostitution. And this is from her Spotify storyline. I'm addressing here the topic of prostitution, talking to a child, explaining what his mother does to make a living. Going through a difficult period in my life, I had to think about all kinds of possibilities to make money and survive. After meeting and discussing with several people related to the sex business, I ended up thinking about the possible mockery and misunderstandings that I could face, but also that my future child would have to face, hence the very mocking side of the chorus. This song explains why I chose not to be part of the sex industry. I also didn't really mention that when she moved to Belgium, she was homeless for a while as well. So, it's kind of that it all relates to this being a story about her life. And similar to the previous song, I felt like this one was also kind of haunting. Like she said, when she was describing the song, it's kind of a playful it's a mockery. And I feel like I can kind of get that in this song and the previous song. This one, obviously, with the much darker edge. I liked this one, but I feel like this one and the next one, knowing what they're about now, it's a lot more challenging to listen to them. This one is a 3, but I did enjoy it, as I did with every song on this album.
It's definitely very interesting hearing the context of the song because, and this is kind of crazy, but Parts of this song reminded me of a song from Aladdin, like the animated movie.
Damn, I've never seen that, so I could not tell you, but sure. I believe you.
The melody just reminded me of it. Specifically, if anyone is interested in like checking the song out that is Saint Aladdin, it reminded me of One Jump Ahead of the whatever that song is called. It just reminded me of that, and that was kind of in my head the whole time I was listening to the song, and honestly, it made me kind of like it. It's a 3. That definitely like makes it kind of crazy that it reminded me of that song after hearing the context of the song. But yeah, Aladdin was just stuck in my head. But while I was listening to it, it's kind of crazy knowing the actual background now. I also did want to say that I got to give a flute shout out.
You hear the flute, and then she also says something about. I was going to translate or try to like read some of the lyrics translated, but I was like, there's definitely a metaphor that I don't understand in French there. But she was like, your mother plays the flute, I think is something that she said. And that must be slang for like sex work or something.
She must be talking to me because that's literally the truth.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout
Although
out
I could.
In general.
Hell yeah. I do want to say though, that's like the perfect metaphor for that in terms of like it works very well. You can visualize it very easily. So yeah.
On that note, track number 9, 4 heures du matin, written by El Guincho and Loose in the Yakuza, produced by El Guincho.
Can I say
to 4 a.m? Yes.
This is the first song where when you're saying the credits, you didn't pull out another name that's just like Ongo, Bongo, Bingo, something like that.
That's true. But this song translates to 4 a.m. And this song, as she has said, is about the experience of a woman getting raped at 4 a.m.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah, so this is another very dark one to kind of round out the album. This track depicts the experience of a woman and her abuser during a rape. It's from the point of view of the woman in the first verse and from the point of view of the rapists in the second verse. It's a cold and direct look during the verses, a cry of pain during the choruses. And I don't know what to say other than knowing what this song is about is like, whoa, I don't know. Like, I won't just like listen to this in the background anymore. It's like, wow, this is really dark and... I don't even know what to say really about it. David's just staring off into space right now.
I am staring off into space, just like thinking about what the song is about, because it's like, damn, that's heavy.
Yeah, there's a non-zero chance that you say this song reminded you of Aladdin. But before we talk about that, I want to say the song is a 3. And I rated it a 3 because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to come back to this knowing what it's about. I probably will because I like to listen to this album in full, but I don't know. It's a tough subject. And this is why it's kind of important to like know what the songs are you're listening to. But I will say that despite all of that, it sounds very nice. And it's a very well written and put together song. So, yeah.
So this song reminded me of The Lion King. I'm kidding, obviously.
God damn.
No, so when I heard this song, I had kind of a weird relationship to it. I was very confused. But with the context, it makes so much sense. Like the song fits that context, so you can tell it was written about that. Because without that context, I went to the song and I heard the keyboards and I was like, okay, that doesn't fit. The keyboard sounded off key to me. And then at some point I felt like the song just falls apart. But if you take those elements and put them in the context of, oh, this is a song about someone being brutally raped, it makes sense. It's uncomfortable. It tries to like impart that feeling in some form to you. And in that way it does really work, because I was listening to it and I was like, it threw me off kilter. So I think in that way it's very effective. Without that context though, I was like, what the hell is going on? I was so lost. And I gave it a 2.5. I probably would still give it a 2.5 with the context, just because like it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Maybe
sure.
It would go up just out of like respect for how well this song actually does work and making you feel like off tilt or something. which is not even a word. I made that up just now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard song to talk about, I feel like.
Yeah, I was going through the songs and I was like, oh yeah, this is good. This is what it sounds like. And I got to this one, I was like, oh shit. Like, it's just so dark and depressing. And reading the lyrics of this translated into English, holy shit. Like, she is a great writer because it's like, it just makes you feel disgusting reading it. I don't know if now is the right time to do a shout out, but I guess shout out to Loosen the Yakuza. We have one final track here, Solo, written by El Guincho, Loosen the Yakuza, Mems, and Ponko. Produced by Ponko, Mems, and El Guincho. Solo, alone, in case you couldn't guess. She wrote this song about feeling like she needed to scream in order to be heard. And it was written of a much lighter topic than the previous two songs about racism. So, you know, we got the big three to round out the album here. And this song was written to denounce the Belgian colonial power in Congo, which is a country that she had to leave because of the war. She emphasizes that the Congolese people truly had no choice, and that their only refuge was ultimately religion. Whatever we say, we'll stay alone. That's one of the lines that is obviously translated, that's repeated throughout this song. I think this song is beautiful. This is a great end to the album. This is a 3.5. This could become a 4 because this is just so like hauntingly gorgeous. And it's very different than a lot of the other songs in the album, but yet it fits in so perfectly with the story and the feeling, I guess, of the album. And I really enjoyed this one. And I think you did too. I picked it as your favorite song, and we got a little hint. So tell us about that hint. Did you like this song?
Yeah, this is my second favorite in the album after Telefonisum. I got it kind of right this time.
No. Telephone Sun.
Telephone Sun. Telefonisune. Sorry. Anyways.
We've lost
I feel like this song, we've lost the plot. The French is making us crazy. I gotta say, we have an album that's in French and then a movie that's set in like Germany and stuff like that. So
Hungary and Austria and Poland and all kinds of stuff. Shout out to
Europe.
Yeah, shout out to Prussia. Bring back Prussia. That's my...
Take Leningrad and turn that into Prussia.
Hell yeah. That'd be awesome.
That would be pretty cool, yeah. But anyways, back to Solo. It definitely is stronger than most of the songs on this album, aside from my favorite song, of course. And I think it ends the album on a really nice note. The thing that stood out to me the most was honestly the instruments. I feel like they just really work with the style and make the production just really stand out on this specific song. It's still a 3, but it's definitely nearer to a 3.5 than the rest of the 3s on this album. And yeah, I'm happy that I kind of ended the album on a happier note than how I entered it.
Same for me too. I feel like the first song is good and it's a necessary like setup into the album. It was also her first song as an artist. And it's nice, but I feel like the album ultimately only gets stronger from there. I wanted to ask you, I assume you will be listening to the 3.5 again. Do you think you'll ever return to this album in full? Or was this one where you're like, it's good, but it's not for me, or it's fine, but it's not for me?
For me, I honestly feel like it's just very mid and not for me. But I will be returning to Telephone Sun. I decided to say it
that
right
sounds
finally
because we're pretty close. Yeah. I mean, I'm no expert.
Best I can do. Yeah. Hey, you're more of an expert than I am. But yeah, I can also see Telephone Sun like entering a playlist because that's kind of something I'm working on. I want to start making more playlists. I'm also currently like cutting down my pop playlist and making an indie one to take the indie songs out of there. So yeah, I could see it entering somewhere, but we'll see. If I do make an R&B playlist, there might be like the one song on there though. So we'll see.
We'll find more R&B that you like. You can throw Banks in there too. She's technically R&B. And I also did want to say, this is something that like ultimately doesn't matter. And I wasn't able to kind of like translate fully, but there was an interview where she talked about in French, and I didn't understand it, really liking a song by Banks and being very inspired by it. So shout out. It was one of the songs from her 2022 album, which I thought was pretty good. Ultimately, not as good as 3, which we listened to. But yeah, so she knows, Luce and the Yakuza knows who Banks is, which kind of makes sense because they operate in, I guess, a similar kind of genre overall. But yeah, this is your introduction, your formal introduction to French music, to French R&B and rap, and kind of our continuation of the exploration of R&B music as a whole. And I wanted to say, I really like this album. There's a reason I chose this, which is, I kind of said, is the song Amigo, but also because I wanted to do something that was very different than anything else we had done on here. And we thought, what better thing to do with a movie that takes place in Europe than an album that's also in Europe. But my score overall for this album is a 3.5. I could see it going up to a 4 in the future, but I feel like 3.5 is really good as of right now. And this album has only grown on me in the 5 years since it's been out. At first, I liked it, and I probably would have rated it a low 3. And since then, it's gone up to a pretty solid 3.5, maybe even nearing like a 3.75. And I wanted to ask you, is this a 2.5? Is this a 3? Did I get the score right?
It is a 2.5, so it is a little bit lower.
That's fair.
But hey, there's still highlights.
Yes, and the good news is this is under 30 minutes too. It's a very quick sampling. We're in and out on a lot of the songs, you know. It's just a nice brief entry into the world of Luce and the Yakuza. So, big shout out. I hope that everyone who's listening to this that has never heard of her checked out her music, and I hope you enjoyed at least some of it, because I think she's a very interesting artist, and not a lot of other artists that I've heard are doing things that she's doing. And on that note, we have another artist who's kind of a singular visionary in his field. And we have a very important European movie to talk about.
We are talking about the Grand Budapest Hotel, of course, written and directed by Wes Anderson. I'm going to give you the IMDb logline first, as is usual, and I want to know what you think. So here goes. A writer encounters the owner of an aging high-class hotels, who tells him of his early years serving as a lobby boy and the hotel's glory years under an exceptional concierge.
That sounds pretty good. I like it.
Yes, it's succinct, but it also tells you everything you need to know and leaves some mystery.
Exactly. That's the best part, is it tells you what you're getting, but it doesn't reveal anything.
100%. As I said before, this film is, of course, written and directed by Wes Anderson, probably his most famous film, based off of a story by Wes Anderson and Hugo Guinness, which I gotta say, such a great last name.
You can always change your last name.
That's true, but I don't want to.
David
Maybe I'll
Guinness.
just add it as my middle name.
David Guinness Agasarian. I like it.
My initials will be DGA, which is the initials for the Directors Guild of America.
Guild. Yes, shout out. You were born to be in Hollywood.
Give me a position. Literally, I was born. Except I should have become a director, not a writer. Anyways, back to Wake Up Dead Man. Gotta bring that back sometimes. The movie is produced by Wes Anderson, Scott Rudin, Stephen Rails, and Jeremy Dawson. God, that word. All right, here goes. The cinematography is by Robert Yeoman. The film is edited by Barney Pilling, something like that. The music is, of course, composed by Alexandre Desplat, who is a French composer. So,
shout out France.
A somewhat connection.
Yeah.
Shout out France. Somewhat connection to our album. And the film is distributed by Fox Searchlight Pictures. Now, before I get to the starring, this movie has like a bajillion people in it because it's on ensemble film, like most of Anderson's films. So I'm just going to like do a brief rundown of the most important actors. We have Ralph Fiennes, also known as Rafe Fiennes. I don't know which one is officially the correct version. I say Rafe. That's it. That's what it is, right? All right.
Yeah,
good.
I
say the right version in real life. Rafe Fiennes. Tony Revolori. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Adrian Brody, Willem Dafoe, Saoirse Ronan, Tilda Swinton, F. Murray Abraham, and the rest of the giant cast. Which is pretty much just a cast of cameos. I also wanted to say this is the first movie I've seen with Adrian Brody since his like 20-hour Oscar speech. So
Yeah, literally.
when he popped up on screen, I was like, oh, I forgot.
When he popped up on screen, I was trying to figure out who he was because I was like, wow, this guy's just perfect to be a villain. And then I realized he was the villain at the Oscars.
Talked for like 30 hours.
And legend has it, he's still talking.
He's still talking. He's in his bathroom holding the Oscar up, talking about stuff probably. Anyways, back to Wake Up Dead Man.
God, we can't. I don't know why we can't do this every episode.
Yeah.
I was thinking about. I've started saying this in my real life now too.
I have too. That's the thing.
Too much. Anyways, Grand Budapest. Anyways, Hungary. I don't know. We gotta figure out something else here.
Anyways, Wes Anderson. That's who we are going to be talking about because he started working with collaborator Hugo Guinness on an idea of theirs in 2006. They were pretty much inspired by a friend of theirs who they were like, oh, he would make a great central character in a story. So they started to produce a script and they got to 18 pages, but they had an issue. They couldn't find a uniform sequence to, set the events that they had come up with. And so things kind of stalled. Now, 2006, obviously, they both went on to work on various different projects. But Anderson had started reading the works of author Stefan Zweig around this time. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's Austrian, so I'm not exactly sure what the pronunciation is supposed to be, but I hope I'm close. But Anderson was inspired by Zweig, as you can see in the film's credits, and his works for their fatalist mythos and portrayals of Vienna in the 20th century. This kind of helped the project eventually take a sort of form, and Anderson started to write it again. He also traveled around Europe for inspiration, which you can definitely see considering how many different locations are in this film that evoke early 20th century Europe. One actor that Anderson had not worked with, who he really wanted to work with, was Ralph Fiennes. They had never had the opportunity, so when he realized that Ralph Fiennes would be perfect for the role of M. Gustav, he reached out. And Fiennes was surprised when he got the offer, but he signed on right away because he was very scared of being typecast as villains, which if you look at his career before this film, you can definitely see, his biggest role was probably playing, I think it's like a Nazi captain or something like that in Schindler's List, which I still need to watch. He was definitely scared of getting typecast in roles like that, so he was very happy when he got this offer. Another role that did take longer to cast was also Zero, and eventually there were 2 finalists for the role. Can you guess who the other finalist was aside from Tony Revolori?
Have I heard of this person?
No, but it's kind of ironic.
Oh, I have no idea.
It was his brother, Mario.
Wait,
which is kind of
Tony
crazy.
Revolori's brother, Mario Revolori, I
Yes.
assume? Oh, what? That's
Yes.
insane. I
That
thought
is
at first he
insane.
had Wes Anderson's brother, and I was like, well, that wouldn't make any sense.
That it would not make any sense at all. No, it was Mario Revolori. Of course, eventually Tony was chosen. Somewhat ironically, because they had originally been looking for an actor of Arabian descent, while Tony is of Guatemalan descent, although they kept the backstory. So you have a Latino playing an Arab.
Shout out Guatemala. Friend of the show, Oscar will love that.
Another little connection to The Birdcage too, where you have Hank Azaria playing a Guatemalan. I can't say that word today.
God, it's the new cinematography.
Jesus Christ. Every single week it's something new, I swear.
Cinematography, you did great this week, I must say. I have to give you praise. It was very good.
If I don't prepare myself, it just turned into cinematography and it sounds all jumbled.
That still sounded all right, I have to say. It's those many syllable words. They just get scary after a little while.
They trip me up. I messed up just now though, so
that's okay.
It's not always it's not always those. Well, sometimes now everyone knows.
Yeah, sometimes everybody has to see what's going on behind the scenes. Anyways, Wake Up Dead Man, I guess.
Anyways, Wes Anderson. Because the actors are not the only person that keep on collaborating with him. Robert Yeoman was also someone that kept on collaborating with Anderson, and I believe still collaborates with him. Grand Budapest Hotel was his 8th collaboration. Now, I don't have a lot to talk about the production, but we will mainly talk about the look of the film. The film was shot in Eastern Germany, which included shooting at the Babelsberg Studios in Berlin and Gorlitz, I don't know how to say that word, apologies. Several real estates and castles and locations were filmed too, mainly for the hotel settings. These included the Heinwald Manor, Osterstein Castle, and Korlitzer Warenhaus.
This sounds amazing to me. Wow.
Hell yeah.
You're doing so
That's the best I can do. You got all the French words today. I got all the German words
There's
today,
a good chance we piss off both the French and the Germans today.
Exactly. Hey, we'll piss off both sides of like Switzerland and both
war.
sides of Berlin. Yeah. I said of Berlin. I meant of Belgium. Or we're pissing off everyone.
You know what? That's all right. We're just two dumb Americans. That's how it should be. Exploring the world.
Europe, isn't that like a country altogether?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Now, of course, as I said, we focus on the look of the film because that's very notable. Wes Anderson is known for the style of his films and the looks of his films. And everything from the cinematography to the sets to the costumes were meticulously developed for the film. Now, there's a lot of info on these. I highly recommend that everyone go and watch videos on them and read about them because it is very, very interesting. I just have a few tidbits just because there is so much that we would be here for like 3 hours talking about it. The film was shot using 3 different aspect ratios. This was, of course, used as both framing devices and, a device to evoke different time periods, especially with the flashback, storytelling in the film. And a lot of the on-screen effects you see, notably the sleigh scene where they're chasing Willem Dafoe down the side of mountains, were made using stop motion or matte paintings. Which, for those of you who don't know, matte paintings are kind of like paintings that are used as a backdrop, and they are so meticulous that they look like real life.
I was going to say, I thought there was something in there. I thought it got a little bit like kind of funky there, but it adds to the charm almost of the film.
Absolutely. I wish that people used matte paintings nowadays because I think it's like an lost art, and I think it really brings something to a film. So I think it's sad that they're not used anymore, especially when you consider that, James Cameron started off as a matte painter. Like, people with proven visual eyes kind of stepped into directing and brought that skill that they had as a matte painter to directing. That's why you should bring it back. People developed amazing skills by being matte painters. So
David Matt
bring
Painter
it back.
Agasarian. DM.
Exactly.
That sounds like a motion picture association. Yeah, I don't know. There's something there.
And I was about to say the initials after you said the full name, so you beat me to it. Of course, there's a lot of like sweeping locations in the film, and these are either made through matte paintings, which we talked about, or through miniatures, which were designed by Adam Stockhausen. And these were often made to evoke little-known European historical landmarks, which you definitely can feel. All these locations feel very real. And I just wanted to say, I love the style of the hotel, and I want a house that like evokes the style of the hotel. I want to live in a house like that. Not that big, but with that style. I also wanted to shout out the costumes. They were designed by Milena Cononero. Apologize if I said that wrong. But special attention was paid to the men's facial hair, which you can probably tell. And costumes were made to reflect the characters. This is true down to the tattoo that Saoirse Ronan's character has. They chose Mexico because they felt it fitted her character, who was a hardworking character.
I was going to say, as soon as she appeared, I was literally like, why is Mexico on her cheek? What the hell is going on here? It was so weird.
Oh, that's quirky. Let's do it.
That's what I feel like the whole vibe of Wes Anderson is. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, having seen one total of his films, I feel like it definitely doesn't work because I've had many people say that sometimes it just gets annoying. So
I want to say that is absolutely right. And I will talk about that in length at the end. The last thing I wanted to shout out about production was that the jacket worn, the leather jacket worn by Willem Dafoe was designed by Prada, which I think is fun. And I love that little side thing he has.
Yeah, for his gun and booze. Shout out. That's a real German man if I've ever seen one.
Literally. I love Willem Dafoe. That man is amazing.
Then you love Appleton, Wisconsin. Shout out. That's where he's from.
Exactly. You see? I love Wisconsin. I support your state.
I got to say he's a little freaky to me.
He's a little freaky, but in the best possible way to me. He's freaky in a manner that I love.
That's fair. I'm still a little scared of him.
A valid. He's a scary man too. Reportedly, and just if you have children listening to this, cover their ears, but reportedly he has a giant schlong too. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know that I needed to know that, but great. That's wonderful.
The only reason I know that is because he was shooting a film.
He showed it to you?
No, showed it. No, he was shooting a film. What?
You were there? Oh my God.
No, but he was shooting a film and he was supposed to be naked, and his schlong was so unnaturally large that they literally like gave him a prosthetic smaller one so that audiences wouldn't be taken out of the film.
We're getting into levels of like removing Jason Derulo's penis from Cats. Like there's no other way to say it.
I forgot about that.
Oh, I think about it too often. I must say, I've never seen that movie, and I also don't really listen to Jason Derulo's music. But somehow, that just like every time I see him, that just pops into my head, and I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't know that. It's one of those things. So now I'm going to think about that with Willem Dafoe too. Great.
Can I just say this episode has been going very smoothly.
Very smoothly.
Definitely no crazy tangents so far.
No.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Back to Wes Anderson, or should I say the film's release. Because it came out in 2014. It was released in March. And it became Wes Anderson's highest grossing film of all time. To this day. It grossed $174 million on a budget of $25 million.
Wow. So he's a flop?
I mean, not a lot of his films make money. Yeah.
Nah, that's all right.
Would probably not get as big budgets as he does if not for Stephen Rails
guy. Yeah.
Yes. Who produces all of his films and is a bajillionaire. So, yeah.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I think ultimately we can keep giving him money to make movies. I'm good with that.
I think that if some of these billionaires that don't know what else to do with this money produce like indie films, the world would be a slightly better place. Do I think that movie should go more towards like getting people food and healthcare and stuff? Yes. But at least that's a little better than just buying like a 50th yacht or something.
Yeah, I think you mean money as well instead of movie.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes. I do think movies should feed people though as well. I think that'd be very interesting. They feed the soul.
I think more films should be produced with billionaire money.
I would like to say one other quick tangent. My first introduction and kind of only frame of reference for this film was 2014 when it came out, and getting the Lego catalog because they had a Lego like creators version of the Grand Budapest Hotel, like the hotel. And I remember seeing it and thinking, I think I really want to watch this movie because this looks sick as hell. And I was 13 at the time. So that was that was literally the only thing I knew going into this movie.
I gotta say, to kind of continue that tangent for a second, to this day, the Lego sets that I want the most are the modular buildings which kind of allow you to build like a Lego city. Those Lego sets are so beautiful and well done. I love them.
I still want the Death Star. Millennium Falcon.
I want the Millennium Falcon. That's what I want.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, anyways, man, if I had $800. Anyways, Wes Anderson.
We just need to find a billionaire to fund our Lego addiction.
Literally. Or more likely to fund our podcast so that we can make money and not have to work.
That's
true.
And
just like do like 3 hours of work a week.
Oh, I spend way more than that on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I spend way more than that on my notes, not gonna lie. But yeah.
True.
But still, less than like...
Yeah, so hear that, everyone. Share this with your friends, your family, your enemies. We're back to that. It's a new year. You can have new enemies. So tell them.
Your New Year's resolutions are far gone, so spread the word.
Exactly. I don't even remember what week this comes out in the new year, but it's over.
Yeah, me neither.
2026, we are so over. We'll get them next year.
It could be January 2nd and it's kind of over.
It's so over, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. The film received critical acclaim from critics and audiences, and it's widely considered one of, if not the greatest, out of Wes Anderson's films. And a lot of people have noted how, in some ways, it feels like Grand Budapest was the peak of his career, considering that a lot of his films following have been much more divisive and make less at the box office. Ralph Fiennes was also singled out for his performance. A lot of people think that he should have won the Oscar that year.
I do too.
Which I do agree with. He is absolutely amazing in this film. But as we will see, he wasn't even nominated because this film was nominated for 9 nominations at the 87th Academy Awards. And that included Best Picture, Director, Original Screenplay, Cinematography, Editing, Original Score, Production Design, Makeup and Hairstyling, and Costume Design. So he wasn't nominated at all.
Not a single actor out of everyone was nominated? That's insane, actually.
I know. I feel like in some part it's because it's an ensemble film. And so some people can make the argument that, like no one actor stood out or something, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
yeah, it is.
Ralph Fiennes should have been nominated. And I can't remember what the other nominees were, but I feel like he probably should have won because he is amazing in this film. Then again, he probably should have won for Schindler's List too. The film did win Oscars though. It won Production Design, Original Score, Makeup and Hairstyling, and Costume Design, which that all tracks. I think that's absolutely deserved in all those categories. Especially Original Score, because I gotta say, I love the score for this film.
I was going to say, this feels like the perfect score for you to absolutely adore.
Ironically, though, I've never really come back to it, and watching this film for the podcast was my second time seeing the film. Then again, the first time I listened to it was a long time ago, so maybe that's why I never listened to it, and now I
think
will
this
start.
will make the rotation
So we'll
now. There's some great songs in here.
No, yeah, I do really love, the score, and it kind of sold me on Alexandre Desplat because I haven't heard much of his work before. And some of the other stuff that I ever didn't catch me as much. So this really caught me, and I was like, oh yeah, he is one of the great film composers working today. But that kind of brings me to the end of my notes. I do have some questions for you, and we have some stuff to discuss, obviously. You did kind of answer the first question. This is your first Wes Anderson film. But I feel like we have to kind of talk about what everyone wants us to talk about, and that is his style and if it works for us or not. I have only seen 2 films of his, in all honesty. I have seen Grand Budapest Hotel and his most recent film, which came out 2025, called The Phoenician Scream. I always say that word wrong. That being said, I've heard a lot about his style. I've seen bits and pieces of a lot of his films, and pretty much based off of my understanding and what I've seen, he has a very specific, very idiosyncratic style. Obviously there's all this stuff about how the film is framed very symmetrically, how the actors' performances are all very deadpan, and the fact that in some ways there is not a lot of emotion in his films. That being said, from what I've seen of his work and from what I've heard, it seems like his style has gotten stronger the more films he has made. So his earlier work, his style is not that strong. And as he has continued making films, that has gotten stronger to the point where, with something like The Phoenician Scheme, it's very, very symmetrical. The actors' performances are very, very deadpan. And to me, this is kind of detrimental. There is very, very little emotion, because I think if you compare this to something like Grand Budapest Hotel, there is still a lot of emotion there. It's funny. In some ways, it's very sad. It's very touching. But when I watched The Phoenician Scheme, it did not touch me in the same way. So to me, it definitely feels like he has kind of waded too deep into his style to the point where it kind of doesn't connect anymore. And this is something that I've definitely heard about, the difference between his earlier works that I haven't seen and his later works that I also haven't seen.
I feel like this is kind of a common theme among like these great directors where they just kind of they lock into one thing and they're like, I'm so good at this. I'm a genius. I'm going to keep doing it. And it's like,
yeah, I
maybe you should
definitely
try
agree
something
with
else.
that.
I don't know. I feel like we need a little bit of experimentation. I mean, I can't like make a judgment because I haven't seen more than just this movie, but from everything I've heard from you and everyone else I know about Wes Anderson, it's that he's kind of gotten worse over time.
Yes. And of course, like I'm not an expert on this because I haven't seen, I've seen 2 movies of his, but I know, for instance, with Jennifer, a lot of her favorite films of his are his earlier films. I believe her favorite is Moonrise Kingdom, which came out 2012. And I know she also loves, Rushmore, which was, I believe, came out in the 90s. And I think that even if she does like his most recent work, it's definitely not to the same level as his early stuff. And I feel like that is a very common shared interpretation of his body of work. And coming back to Grand Budapest, because the first time I saw this was like 7-8 years ago. It's been a long time since I watched this film, but coming back to it, I totally see why people say this was kind of the peak of his career, because it feels like it takes his style to the highest level that it can without like cutting the audience off, without disconnecting from them. It still brings those emotional, like necessary aspects of a story while like bringing in as much of his very idiosyncratic style at the same time. It feels like the perfect blend of it. Or even if it's not your favorite film, it still kind of feels like his perfect film in some ways. It's kind of like, for me, Knives Out and Wake Up Dead Man, where Knives Out is the perfect film, while Wake Up Dead Man is the one that I love. I feel like I will love some of his other films more, but I do feel like nothing will beat Grand Budapest Hotel in terms of just how perfect it is as a film.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of my spiel. And for reference, I believe I gave the Phoenician Scheme like a 3. This film, at first I give it a 4, and that's the score I gave it the first time. I honestly kind of want to kick it up to a 4.5 because I think it is just such a good film, and it just works insanely well. And I think I will. It's a 4.5 for me, ultimately.
Nice.
And now I'm going to kick it to you because I want to know what you think. And I have some questions, but honestly, I'll see if I even get to them because we're kind of covering most of them through this discussion. Yeah.
Like I said, this is kind of what I expected, even though I didn't really know what was going on. I feel like this is kind of the style that everyone talks about Wes Anderson having. And like you said, I feel like this is the best example of that style. It's the most fully realized it's been, where it still works. And you know what? Maybe I don't even need that addendum of where it still works. Maybe this is just kind of like the peak of his style. This is when it's fully actualized. This is what it is. And now he's kind of taken it in a new direction that doesn't work as well. I don't know. I can't say. We'll watch more of his movies and kind of make a judgment there. But I wanted to say that I enjoyed this movie a lot. And I didn't think I would, for one reason. When it started, I thought, oh my God, this is the most pretentious shit we've ever watched on the podcast. And I feel like that is the Wes Anderson experience. This is, to me, like those novels written by American expatriates who lived in France and Switzerland and all that kind of stuff in like the late 1800s, early 1900s that I had to read in school. And I was like, you are discovering the meaning of life when you're like 65 years old, and it's not too late, but it's like, come on, we already knew this kind of stuff. And yeah, I felt like that's what this movie was going to be when I went into it. And I was like, oh God, here we go. But it took a minute for me to get into it, but ultimately I did like it. And I actually, the more I watched it, the more invested I became, and the more I realized kind of what he was doing and why he was doing it. And I started to really enjoy this. And the tone of the movie is so unique. It's very playful.
It is.
But it's very heartfelt. And it's split into these little like acts and sections that are related to each other, but not fully. And it tells a cohesive story, but not totally. And it's very unique. And I ended up liking this by the end of it way more than I thought I would.
Well, and to your point about what you thought it was at the beginning, I feel like its quirkiness and just how fun it is like saves it from that. Like it could have it could have become that, but it didn't because of Wes Anderson in some way.
I was very surprised to learn he was from Houston, Texas, because this is the most like New York coded man making an art project I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, when they first see that, like expected it, because I also remember the first time I saw it, I was like, excuse me, what? He's from Texas?
Houston, the least romantic city in the U.S. I don't know if that's true or not. It just feels like
the most boring city
in
the whole world. I guess one thing that I will ask is your thoughts on the performances, because obviously there are a lot, but we did kind of mention how we felt about Ralph Fiennes' performance. Anything else to add to that, or any other performances to talk about?
Yeah, we got to get a few out of the way. I know who Saoirse Ronan is. Did not know that was her. Never seen her in anything before. So that was cool. I thought she was really good.
One of her first big roles.
Oh, really? Nice. I saw Jeff Goldblum and I thought immediately, oh, it's the apartments.com guy. But I feel like there's a good chance we watch something with him in it on the podcast that I'm forgetting.
We watched Jurassic Park. And
there
he's
we
the main
go.
character,
Yeah.
so we absolutely did. Yep.
He was just younger, so it didn't like stick in my mind.
He didn't have the gray in his beard.
Yeah, but I saw him and I thought he's good. And then the one that I was most blown away by, Tony Revolori. Man, he is great, and I cannot believe he isn't in more things. He is the heart and soul of this movie. I think the buddy dynamic between him and Ralph Fiennes is what carries the movie, but oh my God, he's a well-written character, but as a actor, I was just entranced by him, and I think he was the perfect casting for this movie. So I wanted to shout him out, and I saw that he's in other Wes Anderson movies, so guess I have to watch those.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I think a lot of people shout out, Ralph Fiennes absolutely deserved, because he is amazing in this film. This is, out of what I've seen, probably his best performance, although I haven't seen Schindler's List, but I think a lot of people don't realize that a part of why Ralph Fiennes is so good in this film is because Tony Revolori is so good. Like, that dynamic works because of the two of them.
Yes.
And that
absolutely.
dynamic is, it's essential for the film to work too. If that central dynamic didn't work, nothing is believable in the film. And it absolutely is. I know Tony Revolori is in the Marvel Spider-Man series.
Oh.
I don't know what else he has done aside from other Wes Anderson films, though. I hope that like one day he gets bigger roles and stuff, or at least I hope that the bigger roles that he does get are more prominent, because I think he does deserve it. I remember literally the first time I watched it, I saw him and I was like, oh, it's the Spider-Man guy.
I did also want to shout out Adrian Brody, not because I like him necessarily, but I think he plays a good villain because he's just kind of like freaky to look at. And I just I get a bad vibe every time I see him on screen. It's just like, I don't know.
Well,
but I think
in some ways, I feel like
ultimately
he's
works.
playing himself. But
I mean, yeah, that's
I'm not going to actually throw that out there.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I will. Also, I guess I have to talk about Willem Dafoe from Wisconsin. I think he's good in this movie. Ultimately, I have never been blown away by a performance that I've seen of him. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get there at some point.
I have quite a few films in mind where I think will blow you away, because he genuinely is like a chameleon of an actor. I just think that you haven't seen him in like some really good films. I also want to say I love how he's just like in the background of like half of this movie, just
literally,
like being like mean and stuff with like knuckles and like the brass knuckles on. And what literally my favorite part of this movie is when he throws what's his face's cat out the window. That's like one of the best gags of the whole film.
My favorite part was when they all just punch each other, and it's just like one at a time. That was great. And I also like the shot of, I think it was Adrian Brody was in focus, and then you can just see Willem Dafoe's face like in the background. And I looked over there and I was like, is that Willem Dafoe? And I said that out loud. And I was like, I thought he would be like an important part of the film, and then he becomes an important part of the film. But I was just kind of like, whoa, why is he here?
I mean, that's kind of like watching any Wes Anderson movie. 90% of the movie is, wait a second, is that?
Okay,
which you kind of get with this film. Like literally the whole sequence.
I recognized a few people's faces too. It was crazy.
Well, literally the whole sequence of like the concierges calling each other that are
Yeah.
part of that association was me going, oh, I didn't realize that this person is this film again and again and again. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun experience.
I guess I'll wrap it up by asking if you have anything else to add before you give your score, because I'm honestly out of questions. We covered everything.
I think I do want to say one last thing about the tone real quick, that the tone of this movie is very unique and is not something I can really talk about or describe. It's more something that you have to experience. To bring back our favorite line of the entire podcast, maybe you should watch and listen to the things that we're discussing on here.
Boy, aren't we doing a great job of explaining how these things are by saying that we can't really explain it. You should go watch or listen to it.
No, you really should. But I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought. And I have to give you my score. And my score for this movie, surprisingly, is actually a 4. I was not expecting to like it this much.
That's amazing.
I think this is probably going to be my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I don't know for sure. We'll have to watch more of them. But I feel like this is kind of that perfect blend of all of the best parts of his style coming together, and just amazing writing and amazing performances. So I don't know. I think that's about all I have to say. This was a great experience, and I would like to watch it again, because I feel like this is the type of movie that's going to get better the more I watch it, because I'm going to be able to catch more things in the kind of like mystery and adventure of it all.
Absolutely. I got to say, I'm very happy, because I honestly expected you to give it like a 3 at the highest. So I'm happy. And I completely agree. I think this is in some ways the peak of his film, or of his filmography. You are. Every week you just surprise me.
That's what I'm going to keep doing. And next week, you know what? Maybe I'll do it again.
Literally. I also realized that we have spent like probably somewhere around an hour and a half, maybe a little bit under, not mentioning that I wore the Sandlot shirt today.
God damn it. I was going to bring this up. No, I forgot. I was going to do it as you were talking.
Yes, I beat you on one thing.
Yes, you did.
I beat you on one thing. There we go.
Yes,
that's right.
You're killing
and it
me,
was
Smalls.
an accident. It was an accident this time.
This is amazing.
So even better.
Incredible. And
hey, maybe the trend is back.
But I think that about wraps up the episode. So if you enjoyed the podcast, if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, be sure to rate us 5 stars, no matter what your questions or comments or concerns are. And then let us know about those in the comments on Spotify, by leaving us a review on Apple Music /podcasts, by emailing us at upcpod@gmail.com, any and all of the above if you feel like it. And David, if they want to connect with us and find out what we have to say about music and movies on the podcast and in general, where do they find that? You can find accounts for both Brandon and I on Letterboxd and Radar Musics, and the link for that is in our link tree and in the description of this episode. You can also find our link tree on Instagram, incidentally, if you are following us, which if you're not, you really should, as Brandon has mentioned. And of course, not only do you get to follow us on Instagram and see what we have to say about these episodes and get the announcements, you also get to see what we're watching and listening to a week early. And what is better than being caught up with the podcast, being able to watch and listen to things that you wouldn't normally, and not having to think about that. You're going to turn on Netflix and you're going to say, what can I watch today? And it's not going to be the Grand Budapest Hotel, because it's not on streaming, weirdly. So you'll probably have to rent it from your local library, or maybe do something less than legal. But that's up to you. You know what? I'm not encouraging that. That's just, that's for you to decide. But we try our best to pick movies that maybe are on streaming and maybe somehow are acquirable. I can't always guarantee it, but just know that we are putting so much thought and work into all of these, because we love this so much, and we love you so much for listening to this podcast. And on that note, I want to say thank you all, and see you next week. See you next week.